Welcome everyone to episode 7 of Pro Player Plays PGA Tour 2K21. I play professional golf for a living, but I also love designing and as course designer. And in the last episode, we tackled hole number 2, and you can see we have a lot of the planting done and got this hole looking a little bit more fleshed out. And I'm pretty happy with where we're at right now. I don't know that I'm going to make too many changes. It still looks a little bare, but I think it's mostly because we don't have any of these holes done over here. So once those start to fill in, I think this hole is really, and this view from hole 1 is really going to be a stunning look. So I'm excited to see that come to fruition here. But in today's episode, I want to move our attention from hole 2 to hole 3, or hole 7, sorry. I screwed up my own punchline. Hole 7 is what I want to focus on today. Hole 3, the reason I want to focus on hole 7 is that hole 3 is this inland hole. And it's not along the ocean like these are. And holes 6 and 7 run right along the ocean, a par 4, then a par 3. And because they're along the ocean, it really makes it so that I have to know how much space that I have right here. And if I can fully flesh out what hole 7 is going to look like, then I'll have a better idea of how close I can get hole 3 to these other holes. And that's something that I really want to do. So I think it's a very good idea to tackle hole 7 before we move on to holes 3 and 4 and kind of move inland and then work our way back with hole 5. So that's the plan for today, is we are going to lay out hole number 7 and we're going to get it all sculpted and built up so that we can plant it in the next episode. But first things first here, I actually have an idea and I need to change these around. Hole 6 right now is a par 4 and hole 7 is a par 3. And the green on the par 3 would be right next to this other green for the other par 3. And I was thinking, it would be a little bit more interesting to have a par 4 green kind of over here by a par 3 green. You could see 2 par 3 greens next to each other, but I kind of like the idea of having a short par 4 that goes right up to where this is, right in this little hole is where the green's going to be, and then have hole number 6 be a par 3 over this little inlet of water as it's right next to this par 5 green. And I think that's going to be the direction that we go in here. So let me quickly change around these hole numbers and pars. Now we've got these holes flipped around. It's time to start thinking about how we want this hole to look. And we've got this ocean feel. We have that nice backdrop here, and we're going to continue this planting all along this coastline. So that's definitely what we're going to do. But I think the first thing that we have to do before we start laying down some tools, some of the measure tools, is I want to get this coastline to make a little bit more sense. The idea I have for this hole in my mind is that this water, I like the idea of this water, but I want it back a little bit more. And I want to challenge the players off the tee to either take a driver and have it go close to this water, or to play more conservatively, and I think I'll have a waste bunker come up through here, and you can play more conservatively and hit it out into this area so that you've got a little bit better of a look at the green, but definitely a lot further in, and it'll kind of be that risk-reward decision that I've been looking for a lot on this course, and I think this will be a good example of how we can use risk-reward to, make an interesting golf hole. So with that in mind, I am going to go through right now and I'm going to sculpt this coastline. Alright, so now we have the bunker all laid in, and I think that just gives us a really good starting point for how we want this hole to wrap around the water here. So I think this is going to be a good start, and I'm going to go in now, and the next thing I want to do is I want to raise up the fairway from this bunker, and I want it to have this kind of effect. This kind of naturally happened, and it was a little bit of an accident, but I want the fairway to definitely be above the waist bunker here. I want it to feel like the fairway is separate in a way, and with it being raised up, I think it's going to give it that little bit of definition that this is the intended part of the golf course, and then when you're down in the waist bunker, you'll know that you know, this was not designed for a golfer to hit it in, if that makes sense. It's kind of what I did over here as well, where this waist bunker, it's really far down from the fairway's raised up, and I think you would want that because you'd want the water to run off of the fairway, and if it were to rain, that is. That's kind of my thought process with all of these holes sloping towards the ocean. That's definitely what you'd see at a course kind of along the coast like this, so that's what we're going to go for over here. I'm going to go and I'm going to massively flatten the area above it, and I think it'll give this hole a little bit of definition, and it'll fix some of these like low areas. I don't want it to be low underneath this bunker. I definitely want the fairway to be above it, so I'm going to go through and I'm going to raise up all of this land. You know, I'm kind of looking at this right now, and I don't think this is enough slope. I think I have underdone how much I want this to slope up to where the fairway is. So, yeah, with that in mind, I'm going to raise it up even more along this coastline here, because I think this is a little too small of a slope for what I was looking for. So, let me raise it up maybe another foot or so, maybe even 2 feet. We'll see how that looks. This is kind of trial and error here. I'm just trying to see what I think is going to work best. We'll go 1 feet 5 inches, and we'll kind of go from there. And hopefully this will make this fairway area look distinctly separate from the waist bunkers. So now we've got this area pretty flattened out, and we can really start to mold the shape of how this hole is going to look and play. But I think it's really important that we get down this initial flattening, because it's tough when you're around this water like this and you really want it to stick close to the water. You've got to be very careful with how you sculpt it. So that's kind of why I've been so paranoid in this episode with making sure that everything's flat before I move into the actual placing of the hole. So I think this is looking pretty good. Let me just flatten out this little green side area as well, and I think that will help, because now we need to start figuring out how is this hole going to play. And I think the first thing I want to look at is what I talked about in the first, maybe it was the second episode. I think it was the second episode where I talked about 60 yards from hazard to hazard. That's part of the decade system that a lot of top players around the world use. And if you can fit driver between 60 yards, if you have 60 yards of width, that is, you are more than likely going to hit driver on that hole. That's just a very bare explanation. But with that kind of in mind, that's the typical dispersion for a PGA Tour player, and I think that's like a pretty good benchmark for making a hole feel tight or not tight, is around that 60-yard mark. And I definitely want this hole to feel tight, but I think I want to use more of a waste bunker that kind of cuts in through here and really makes you decide, are you going to try and challenge this driving area and get it up there close to the green, or are you going to lay it back over into this area? So let me let me erase a couple of these measure tools first, because they're just in the way a bit. So I'm going to clear all, because I don't have any others around the course that I can remember. But looking at that yards to tee, it says 283, and I think that's a pretty good yardage to start cutting in. Like, make it about a 280 to 285 carry right there. So that'll kind of be where you would have to carry it if you really want to take on this water and waste bunker here, and the waste bunker that I'm going to have cut up into this area. So let's map out this area where the waste bunker is going to go. And I think something like this. Let's see how wide this is. This is going to be fairway at about here, and it's going to go over, and I want it to be around 16 yards. That sounds about right to me. That, like, it's a very, very tight area. So you'd have to be very daring to take on this shot. But if you did, you could be very rewarded. So let's get this waste bunker, and I'm kind of mapping out where I want the waste bunker to go. So let's get it up into here, and let's follow this little part of the fairway, and then we can start tapering it back a little bit. And then it'll come kind of in here, and now it's picking up the other hole. We're over here. That's a bit too wide. I didn't mean to go that wide. I want this waste bunker to be in here, and then I kind of want it to cut back at about this distance, let's say. So I'm going to cut through like this. We'll have to get rid of a couple of these extra yardage markers. These don't really count. That's where the waste bunker I really wanted to cut in at. And yeah, so it'll either take on this little section right here, which side to side is less than 20 yards. Very, very tight hole if you're going to hit driver. Or I don't want to cut off driver going right as well. I just wanted to make it not as enticing, I suppose. Like, if you can get driver, you can get it down here by this green. I think that's kind of the strategy element. And then if you're going to hit driver on this line, you know, it kind of just ends up in this area, and you don't really gain much from it. Rather than hitting 3 wood, it's about the same kind of shot. So the first thing, I'm going to move this tee box over a little bit as well. It's kind of just in the way. It's ruining my waypoints. Like, it's telling me the wrong yards, and I don't really want that. So let's move this waypoint as well. Get it right into this area. And now I'm going to lower this land, because this is where my waste bunker is going to go. And I want this to be lower than where the fairway is at. So let's bring it down about, let's go almost 3 feet. Okay, we've got most of this sculpted. Let's flatten this out just a little bit more. Make it a little bit more pronounced. And now we've got it in there. Let's go ahead and let's place our waste bunker. And let's see if we can get the shape to really match up with the measurement tools that we used. Because I think if we can pull this little section of the bunker off, I think the rest of the hole is going to kind of fall into place all the way around it. And, you know, I think that's what we're kind of going for here. This is the main hazard. Like, this is obviously the water, but this bunker is really defining how players are going to play this hole. Are you going to be risky and go for it? Or are you going to play it out here and really take this water out of play? I think you definitely, in a tournament, you would probably take it over here. But if you're just having fun with your buddies, this is the fun line right here. This is where you run it up right next to the green and get up and down and make birdie and move on. So let's place this waste bunker. And now we've got that waste bunker popping right through where the fairway is going to be going, and I think that's really good. I didn't leave some of the spots. Now, I know over here I left some dots to be planted. I think I'm just going to freestyle it. I have a pretty good handle now. I'm getting a good handle on, you know, areas and how they can be planted. So I don't think I need to leave those rough little dots, the dots of heavy rough, I should say, in the middle of the bunkers, because I know kind of where I want to plant it. It'll probably be somewhere in here is a little bit of planting, and somewhere up in this area is going to be a little planting. And other than that, we won't need much in that bunker. That's definitely more of a penalizing bunker than anything. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's start to look at this green, because this is obviously where we're trying to end up. We need to get that green down first before we can really decide how the fairway is going to slope around this, because I think what I want to do is I really want to make the left side of this fairway the better side of the fairway to approach the green from. So and what I mean by that is, if you hit it over here to the right, like you blast it way out here right, that's fine, but then maybe there's some kind of bunker here, or maybe the green slopes from this direction out towards the ocean that way. Just something so that if you are able to get your tee shot right to here, or if you take on this left line, that you're actually rewarded for your aggressive play to try and get it closer to the water. Not saying that that's necessarily the correct play, but it's something to think about when you decide, when you're at your tee shot, deciding what to do. So let's make this green with that in mind. I'm going to go and I'm going to use that trick. I think it was Victory Lane Sports. I was thinking about it the other day. I think he's the one who kind of showed this 20 by 20 grid. It's not an exact science, but it's just something so that when you're in this bare area of rough, you can kind of get an idea of like a grid that you can put your green in. That's not going to be too big, not going to be too small, kind of be in that right zone of what you're looking for on every single hole. So I'm going to mess around with a couple green ideas. I might blow something up, but when I get settled on one, I'll bring you guys back in and we can talk about what I like about it. This is a pretty small green, I know. 10 yards wide, but it's a 360-yard hole, we've got to remember. It's 28 paces deep. You know, I kind of like this. I mean, I really do like small greens. This is about 10 yards wide, and I really like having these short par 4s with really tight greens. And you know what? I'm pretty happy with where this is at. I think this is a very, very nice little hole that we've started to build here. So let's go ahead and raise up the green as well, because this is going to be a little bit of an elevated green. And I want it to, before I go into more planning with it, I want to be able to see the green the way it's going to be as I've envisioned the finished product. So let's go ahead. Let's get it flattened out. All right, that's pretty good. I like that. Now, I think the thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to do some more waste bunker kind of on this right side. I want there to be something that you have to hit over if you're over here, and that if you've got this angle here, you don't really have to mess around with any kind of waste bunker on that side. I think that is going to be how I deal with the strategy on this hole. So let's flatten this, get that nice and close, get this left edge right here up there nice and close to the green, because this is ultimately where we're going to have our waste bunker. And now I'm going to go through and I'm going to make sure that it's even a little bit lower, because I want it to be pretty much matched up with what we've got with this waste bunker over here. But it's obviously going to have to go uphill a little bit so that it's not too low. I want to be able to see it from right here. And now I'm here, and I've kind of gone off and done this without telling you what I'm doing. I want this waste bunker to come in a little bit closer behind the green, just so that it's a little bit more of an isolated green. I think that is going to help with the look of it as well, is to really get this bunker to come up to where the green edge is going to be. I don't want it to be as big of a landing area up here onto this green. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to complete these bunker edges back here. Quickly before I forget, let's put some heavy rough in, and then we should be good to go to start focusing on this green side waste bunker. At least the sculpting of it, that is, not necessarily the planting. But we definitely want the bunker to start coming in here so that we can really see it from this side of the waste bunker. And we're definitely going to raise up this side as well, but I'm saving that for a little bit later on. So let's go in and let's place this waste bunker in this area. And let's use this brush. This is the technique we used to use around the greens. I want it to look a little bit more, less of a waste bunker like this is, and more of a bunker that is intentionally placed there, like these little tongues along the bunker, or along the side of the green, that is. You see how you have these little tongues as well? That's the kind of look I want to have over here on number, I guess this is hole 7. I forgot I went out of order there for a second. But let's go in and let's place a couple of these tongues like this, and then we'll fill in the rest of the waste bunker. And now we can start to see some of this bunker, some of how this hole is going to look. This area is going to be fairway here, but as I see it right now, I don't see much that I would really want to change. I think this is starting to look pretty cool. Yeah, okay, let's clean up this left side, because we want this to come a little bit closer to the green than it is, and we don't want there to be that straight edge as well. So let's place in a couple of these edges of the bunker. Now, I put that in and I already kind of regret it. I might have to... Let's try and flatten that with this brush and see if we can get a little bit more gradual of an effect into the bunker. I like the way that this looks right here. I like how the rough is going into the bunker pretty gradually. So I'm going to continue with that method that I was just using to try and clean up this. I guess it's the left side of the green. That left side is looking a lot better already. It's a little wavy for my liking. Actually, let me try and the edge is a little wavy, I should say. So let's go through and use this, and let's see if we can make it look a little less of a continuous wave. Yeah, all right. I'm good with that. I do need to take out this bunker just a little bit further down, I think. I think I need to have it come up into this area. So let's do that now. There we go. That's what it needed. It needed that little bit of edge right there. Just like that, it's starting to look a lot better. Let's go through and let's flatten this. All right, this hole is starting to come together nicely. Let's go through, and now we've kind of got all of the main points of interest on these tee shots already placed. I think it's time that we start placing the fairway. We get that fairway laid down so that we know where we're going. Let's make sure that we know. I think I want this to be almost 40 yards wide. I want this to be fairly wide as you get over to here, and then I want it to start narrowing up as you start getting to the right side of this, so that you can't just play it around this right side, and you have to think about hitting driver, and you can't just blast it up here to the right and still hit it as far as you would over on that angle. So let's go here. Let's really start to taper this in a bit. So I think this is going to be where that fairway goes, and then you've got the fairway that cuts in right here, and it comes along this way, and then it ends kind of right there. I think that's going to be a pretty good look, and then I think this is perfect. All right, let's go in and let's place our fairway. All right, we've placed the fairway, and let's go over our handiwork here. Good. I was curious how this fairway was going to place. I know it's always tricky when dealing with splines to make sure that they're keeping inside of these measurement tools, and it looks like I did a pretty spot-on job right there to get it to fit in there nicely. And we look along the edges here. No bunker intersecting with fairway, which is also what we wanted. And up here by the green goes in nicely to where this green is. And then back here, we're going to do some waste bunker work around here, and definitely on this side as well. So, man, with all that being done, I'm really happy with the fairway we've laid down here, and kind of the hole that we've laid down here. It's a very interesting, quirky little oceanside hole. And honestly, those are some of the most fun holes you'll play, are these holes that are very quirky, give you the opportunity to hit it up into this area and give yourself a chip. I mean, I just think these holes are so much fun, so I'm happy with where this is going right now. The next step here, let's clean up some of these edges on this right side. Let's go ahead and sculpt that up. I know it's very flat right here. I definitely want this to be raised up quite a bit. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to try and make sure that this side of the fairway gets raised up. And you know what? As I think about that, I think I'm going to raise my tee box up first as well, because this needs to be, you need to be able to see this bunker. This is the whole decision maker of the hole. This is the most important bunker on this golf hole. You absolutely have to be able to see it off the tee. So this tee box is probably going to be needing to be raised a pretty significant amount, because we want to be able to see that bunker. So let's raise it up 10 feet. And that's going to be a little bit of the problem with this tee box, is that it's so close to the ocean that it's a little awkward right there. For now, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to kind of cross that bridge when I come to it. I might expand this ocean out just a little bit so that it's not so awkwardly high up. But let's go and let's get rid of some of these distance markers, because they are just getting in the way at this point. Let's clear them all. And now let's take a quick look at how this hole is going to look off the tee. And let's see, you can see the bunker, but it's not quite as in the face of the player as I was hoping it would be. Like, I need that bunker to really be raised up so that is the thing that's kind of defining the tee shot. So you've got this little area that you can hit to, and then you can also play it out here, or you can hit 3-wood back into this area. There's a lot of decisions. Well, am I gonna carry it? Yes, and now I'm right here. I've got a nice little chip shot to this small green. So yep, very happy with that. Let's figure out what we can do to kind of make that bunker pop out. It might involve moving this tee box actually a little bit off of the ocean from where it's at right now. And that honestly may help. That may help make it not look so artificially tall, and it'll kind of give a better angle into this approach, into the aggressive tee line. You'll be able to get it more into this area and have less of this bunker on the right side to contend with. So maybe that'll do it. Let's go ahead and let's raise this whole thing up. So we've got the tee box raised up a little bit more, and we've got the angle changed on it a little bit. Let's see if that helps with this tee shot once we get into the actual hole. Because if it does, I think that's going to be the ticket. Well, you know what? It didn't quite do what I was hoping it would do by making that bunker really pop. Well, it looks like we're just gonna have to do something about this fairway. I might have to just totally replace it, because you know, when you try to move those waypoints, sometimes you just get these curvy edges and it's not very consistent. But with that being said, before I do that, I really want to make sure that this is actually going to help the look of the hole, because if it doesn't, it's kind of been a huge waste of time. But we're going to go through, let's place some of this bunker in and make sure that it's looking pretty natural, has that little wavy edge to it that we're coming to like on this course. And let's finish this up, and then we'll be able to see from this tee box, is that going to help it? Oh, that helps it a lot, doesn't it? Yeah, you can start to see some of the hole be a lot more defined. You've got that big waist bunker down the side. Very good. Now the thing that I've lost is some of the width over here on the right side. So I'm going to have to go through and I'm going to have to widen this fairway out as well. But let's go in and let's replace this fairway and see if we can get it to look just that little bit more enticing to hit it over onto this side versus take on this this more aggressive target. We've got the fairway placed down now. Now let's make sure that this width is correct. And 35 yards, yeah, that's pretty good. That's a pretty wide fairway. It's definitely a lot wider than that other side of the fairway. Right in there, that's 30. We can raise this out a little bit. Let's hope it doesn't do the wavy waypoints. Yeah, we were able to fix that pretty well. So that is looking a lot better. Let's make sure we add in our second surface. I believe we are doing the rough width here, or the second surface of light rough. Let's bump that up to 4. And now we've kind of got this hole looking a little bit more of what we were hoping for. Let's play it again and let's make sure that bunker is really is popping. And it's not quite popping, which I'm trying to figure out. Maybe this tee box just needs to go up ever so slightly more. I think it does. And I think it'll really start to showcase that. Because if you're looking here, how far down does this go? Ah, see, this is only down about 10 feet. And if you get over to here, it's only down 11 feet. That's about a 4-yard difference. I think we can stand to have this go just that little bit higher. Now I'm hoping that that bunker is really going to be showcased, and it is. That looks a lot better to me. We obviously haven't defined the right side of this hole, so it's looking very incomplete. But we've gotten a lot of work done today. We've really flattened a lot. This has been a lot of artificial moving, and in this game, all those artificial movements are very difficult to create the look that you're going for, because I flattened this whole area, but I still wanted to have a big right to left slope in it, and I want this fairway to be higher up than this bunker right here. And there's a lot of things that just take that tedious amount of time if you're really going to get the elevation that you want when you're not just using the landscape, kind of like I did for hole 1, where I just used the landscape that I had in front of me and I didn't have to move much earth. So I think we've made a lot of progress in this episode, and I'm happy with the start we have on this hole. The next episode, we're definitely going to be focused on getting some of these finishing touches kind of around like these edges here, getting this fairway raised up, and once we get that all done, definitely placing some more waste bunker around these sides of the holes. But once we get that done, I think we're gonna start planting this bad boy, hopefully start to connect hole 7, this green, over with that green that you can see over in the distance on hole 2. And I think if we can do that, we are going to be in a really good spot for this hole. So I want to thank everybody for watching. I really appreciate you taking the time to check this one out. If you liked what you saw, please consider liking it, and please consider subscribing to the channel. It'd mean a lot to me, and I'd really appreciate it. Help me out a bunch. So that being said, thank you guys for watching. Have a great day, everyone.